Okay, welcome back to the channel. Here goes. There's a lot to get through on this one, so something a bit different. This is the C209 number, Mercedes CLK. So it's known as the C209 and the A209. That's the model designation. Anyway, you might see a few of these around. It's a CLK. Nothing unusual there. But this is the AMG model. So this is what makes this car special. The fact it's an AMG. I'll just give you a little tour around the car. Some of you watching will be familiar with the AMG and the CLK version of the AMG, but to most people they wouldn't even notice, they wouldn't realise what it is. The first things you notice are the wheels, so anybody who knows their cars will know that they are AMG only wheels. Other than that, you get a little bit of body kit. Very subtle, but also they put this body kit on the Sports, so you could buy a, say, 280 Sport, a 350 Sport, a 5 litre CLK55 Sport with this body kit on. But it was meant for the AMG. Anyway, CLK55 AMG. It's a bit of an unsung hero. Most people, as I say, don't know what it is. I think it's a bargain at the moment for what it is. So we'll go into a bit more detail in a minute. But just looking at it, you wouldn't know, but it's a V8. So it's a V8 engine, 8 cylinders. 367 brake horsepower as standard, but to most people you wouldn't even think that. You just think it's an everyday car, something to go shopping in, something just to go out in now and again. So this has 367 brake horsepower and over 500 newton meters of torque. That's a lot of torque. This sort of car wasn't even on my radar because it's something I wasn't too familiar with, and the equivalent really, this is 2004, the equivalent back in the day was probably the E46 M3, which is what people will be familiar with. Anyway, we'll have a look under the bonnet. Something that's prompted me to do this video is the fact that JM has just done his video, and then just after that JJ on Cars has just done the same thing, with reference to Sam at SPR. So some of you may know of Sam up in Stoke, who does SPR. That's his channel. He's an independent Mercedes specialist and he knows all about these cars, and he also has one. So the difference with this car is it's convertible, as you can tell, and they've both featured the coupe. So this is the reason why people buy these cars. 5.4 litre V8. This engine has 16 spark plugs, so 2 spark plugs per cylinder. That's for combustion purposes, so 2 sparks rather than just one. You get a more efficient flame burn, which means you maximise the combustion. These are all hand built, so this one is built by this guy. I can't even read it very well, but yeah, they were all individually hand built, which is pretty amazing. Something they could do back then, even though they were producing a fair amount of AMG engines, thousands in fact. So yeah, a special engine, very reliable. Known as the M113. Just a generally very reliable AMG engine. These CLKs, they came in many different versions of engine, and some of them aren't reliable, some of them have problems with chains, some have other problems, but luckily, and as you'd expect, the AMG M113K is a very decent engine, so that's a good thing. It's a very good thing for this car. That is a huge engine in there for that vehicle. They didn't put this engine intentionally in the C class. It was designed for the CLK at this time anyway, and they did actually use the front end of the CLK to do the C55 version, so it had the longer front wings, longer front end. But yeah, I mean, for a V8 engine with that, you know, not to mention 367 brake horsepower, what can you buy for under £10,000? So this is under the £10,000 price bracket, and that is a lot of car. There's a lot of car for the money. That's really bottom end E46 M3 money. And I did have a quick look at the Audi V8. So I think it's the B7 4.2, and I don't think you'll find one of those for under 10 grand. You're talking at least 10 grand for something like that. So it really is a bargain at the moment, I think. And you'll pick these up from maybe 5,000 up to 9.5, 10 for a really good one with low mileage. But they seem to have bottomed out. I think at 5 grand you're looking at, I mean, parts value. If you bought one, if you know, you'd find one running, and you'd find a good one, a semi-good one at least for 5 grand. But at 5 grand, you're really looking at the price, the sum of the car in parts, easy. If you bought it for the engine, you know, you've done all right. You can't even get an engine for some performance cars for 5 grand. Anyway, moving on, because there's a fair bit to get through. Get my notes back. So where are we? Yeah, so the cabriolet is probably even rarer than the coupe, although you don't see that many coupes around, not in the AMG. I looked on how many are left, and standard cars, again, we don't really know what year. I'm assuming it's this kind of year, because they did start these around about 99, 2000 up to 2002, and then they changed the shape. So they changed the shape completely. Front end, rear end was different, so the headlights really show it all. The headlights were kind of separate. The headlight and the spotlights were separate on the early cars, and now they're kind of molded together. That's one way of telling. Just a prettier shape, really. They improved things as they always do, and rear lights were different. So the earlier CLK was quite bulky, I would say. Anyway, getting back to how many left. So there's two versions. There's this version, which is the MD, which I believe is the Mercedes Designo model, which gave you options of colour, trim, that kind of thing. So there are 139 left, according to how many left that's registered or sawn. Standard cars 193, so total 232. That is a bloody rare car, very rare. Anyway, that's in the UK. So moving on. So special leather, navy hood would have been extra. You can just about pick it out, but you've got two-tone leather. Same on the interior. So you've got two-tone there, not easy to pick out. I noticed that Sam's car, SPR, that JJ did, has also got this two-tone leather, but I don't believe it was pointed out. So AMG wise, what do you get? So I've got a price list over there, and there's a lot of options there, a standard on the CLK55 AMG. So clocks, you get AMG logos. You got a logo, I should say, on there, and you got the silver binnacle, which wasn't on the standard cars. This car speedo goes up to 200 mile an hour, so this is a facelift. Being a 2004, it's a facelift model, so it got 200 mile an hour speedo instead of the original 160 mile an hour speedo. These are in fact restricted to 155 mile an hour. I don't know what they do unrestricted, but yeah, they came to Europe, they came to the UK certainly, restricted at 155, which is standard for a lot of German cars. What else we got? We've got AMG seat badges, AMG specific seats, so you've got like a bucket type seat. Again, it's more luxury than sports, but you know, it's got the bigger bolsters, which is great. These are heated seats and fully adjustable, so completely adjustable, all electric. And then also on top of that, you had lumbar adjustment, so I believe they're airbags, and that's all electric, so you can set the lumbar support the best you want, really, to however's good for you. This has all the buttons on. Apparently they fall off, but this has all the buttons on, which is good news. I haven't got the AMG mats in at the moment. It's winter time, so we've got these Mercedes mats in just for now. So 18-inch wheels, AMG wheels, as I said earlier. The earlier model, so the pre-2004, 2003, 2002, 2003 in this shape, had 17s before. These are 18s, as I said. Obviously AMG boot badge, AMG exhaust, which is standard across AMGs. That's a bit of a trademark. But you know, as a German car, it's very understated. They always are anyway. But you know, it's a real wolf in sheep's clothing. That kind of power, it's just incredible. But it doesn't look any different to anything else you just see pottering around town, which is amazing. But Mercedes especially, I think they were more understated with their design than other German manufacturers. So it's just totally under the radar. On that as well, it's got so much to say. I've got to think about what I'm doing here. Let's get back to where I was. So facelift model, okay. The facelift model also got the bigger six pot front brakes and the bigger 4-pot rear brakes. So that was one of the other things. They also improved the suspension on the later models. Improved suspension, speedo obviously. What else did they do? You also got start-stop. So you got start-stop on the gear lever, so you're able to start the car. Just talking about starting the car, I will start it up a second just to hear this. Seatbelts pop out, standard or kind of original Mercedes style in coupes and things. Pretty cool. I like that. I'll just show you this. Midlife crisis cars. That's pretty much what this is. You know, anybody's running a V8 5.4 litre car around in convertible form, it's a bit of a midlife crisis car. So, yeah, engine running. This wasn't supercharged, as you'll notice, so this is normally aspirated. They had then supercharged this engine, producing somewhere like 460 brake horsepower, so 100 brake horsepower up on the normally aspirated version, which is what this is. I like the power in this. It's nice, it's linear, it's good. Fuel economy is the downside. I can't imagine what the supercharged version's like, because a supercharger is just like a turbo and it just forces more air, more fuel, and I'm sure it'd like a massive drink. This is bad enough, this likes a drink, but yeah, that even more so. You don't really hear the exhaust on this. So that's how subtle it is. But again, going back to Mercedes, originally they were a limousine. They were a limousine company. So they were producing cars a long time ago for luxury. It was very much a luxury style car. So this not really being a sports car, it's a luxury limousine. So on that, this car weighs 1850 kilograms. The coupe weighs around 1700 kilograms. So it is a blooming heavy car. You're into Range Rover territory, really. Older Range Rover weigh around 2 tons. So you're right up there. Driving it, I don't think you notice the weight too much. I think it does it really well. And the engine just pulls, so you put your foot down and it just pulls you along. So yeah, that's that. What else can I say? Rocker cover gaskets are the Achilles heel on these engines. It's the only thing really you've got to keep an eye on. I believe the oil filter housings can leak as well. This engine's pretty dry. It's had rocker cover gaskets done recently, so they should be good. Just something to watch out for. I mean, the heat that these engines create, I'm not surprised the rocker cover gaskets do fail at times. Right, if you are enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. Help the channel and will allow me to do more. I'm going to get some more cars on here, some more friends' cars, things that are a bit unusual. This again is different to the norm, and if you were thinking of buying something, you probably wouldn't think this. You'd think E46 M3. But I like that. I think it's good that it's a bit different. And again, most people don't know what it is. Let's carry on. So there is a remap available for these engines, and that takes it up to 385 brake horsepower, so even more, and obviously gives it even more torque. This will do 0 to 62 in 5.2 seconds. That is bloody fast. Even in today's standards, that's quick. Let's go through, see where I am. It's more of a GT car, as I've said. Luxury limousine. So I'm just wondering, what can you buy with a V8 engine in for less than 10 grand? I challenge you to come back with something in the comments that you can buy. Never mind something with this power. What can you buy for that kind of money? Right, features. So I've talked about the badging, AMG in the kick plates, so you get kick plates, AMG. Some of you might have noticed that. There we go. You get a nice thick headlining in these as well, so a lovely headlining. Definitely quiet when you drive it. You got the sports steering wheel. This one's been fitted with paddles, so it has the paddles, which is great. Cruise control, you get auto lights, you get auto wipers, the buttons under the head unit, the command center, they changed that along with the climate control, so it's got air conditioning, climate control, and they did revise that center console. That was the other thing they did do with the facelift 2004 to sort of 2006, 2007, and on that, after this CLK55 came the CLK63. So following on a 6.3 litre, so they built these with a 6.3 litre, probably talking 12 grand upwards for something like that, maybe even more. Again, 6.3, which eventually led to this C63 AMG supercharged. They also did a black series, did a CLK only in the coupe black series, and prices of those, a very rare car, Jeremy Clarkson had a black one, which I believe sits in Mercedes-Benz world, and that's 130 grand. 130 grand. So 6.3 engine in that. This is 5.5. Okay, you've got wide arches and all sorts of things. I'm not sure if you've got a limited slip diff. This doesn't have a limited slip diff, which is crazy. So when this was new, this was around 60 grand. Convertible 60 grand with the options and things, and you didn't even get a limited slip diff, which is madness. An E46 M3 had a limited slip diff. Anyway, they also did a CLK DTM with a wide body kit. That was a race car, but they did make some for the road. Had wide arches, massive body kit, and they did a convertible, which does look a bit mad. I prefer the coupe in that version, and something like that will cost you 800,000. So that's a very rare car, but 800,000. Engine wise, I think it was still 5.5. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was still a 5.5 supercharged. They may have gone to 6.3, but I don't think the 6.3 had been developed by then. But yeah, a bonkers car. If you haven't seen one, check out the CLK DTM. It's a mad car. I can't remember what an E46 M3 weighs. I think you're looking at 1500, 1650 for a convertible. So these were heavier cars than the E46 M3, and both cars do feel planted. Right, what else have we got? Okay, so electric folding mirrors, climate control, auto wipers. There's a non-touch electric roof, so it's just the operation of a button. I won't show you that now, but there's the button for the roof. Press that and it does everything, and same when it goes up. I will do some more videos on this car. I'll do a bit of a buyer's guide. I have covered some things. And yeah, values I've talked about. What the values are due, I don't know. These are an expensive car to run in terms of fuel. Generally very reliable, things don't go wrong. I say don't go wrong, but the usual stuff, wear and tear. There's nothing in particular that's bad. What else? I will go through the options shortly. Just catching up with my notes and see what else. I've got a lot to say. So one other thing is, any of you in the Facebook groups, you may recognise this car. So Ed used to own this car. Ed owns the works. He's up in Scotland, so this car was up in Scotland. It was his wife's car. He had a C55, his wife had this. And yeah, as I say, he runs one of the Facebook groups, so people will know the car. But the reason it's in such good condition is because Ed obviously spent a lot of time detailing this. So if you're up in Scotland, shout out to Ed, the works. I'm sure he'd appreciate any extra work, but he does a good job. Check him out. This car came down to Scotland just over a year ago from Scotland, and it was in Portishead, Bristol for a year, and now it resides in Wiltshire. Right, I'll just go through the options. So standard equipment, as you'll see, 5-speed auto box. So that was it was a tough gearbox, which is why they used it for the AMG. It has manual mode, so you can change gear here on the gear lever, and also the paddles. So it's got comfort and it's got sport as well. Later they went to the 7-speed. So if you watched my last Mercedes video, it's got the 7G box in it, 7-speed. Here we go. So it's got sport suspension, twin exhaust pipes, it's got xenon headlamps, 18-inch alloys we know about, 7.5J front, 8.5J rear, so they're staggered. Electric door mirrors, electric folding mirrors, fog lights front and rear, which was a thing in those days. It was quite a thing, I suppose, going back. Headlamp wash, heated screen wash, that's good. Metallic paint, I think it's got heated mirrors as well. AMG aluminium trim, AMG door sills, AMG instrument cluster, sport steering wheel, leather trim gear knob, so that's another thing, leather trim gear knob, it's not plastic. Bout feeders in the front, we talked about. CD changer, so a lot of the high-end cars had CD changers, not really used anymore. It's got commands nav, so I believe you can talk to it if you want to and it will understand. Center armrest was a thing. Got a double storage unit there. And then these were options. So I talked about the Mercedes Designo package, which is what this is. So if you've got MD on MD, that's Mike Delta on your V5 in front of your CLK55 AMG, I believe that's Mercedes Designo, which nobody else has really talked about. But you had Designo metallic paint, again go to the brochure, Designo Variocolor Mystic paint, so they did a pearlescent paint in these. There's a Chromaflare paint, there's Napa leather, so this is Napa leather I believe, usually a softer type of leather. Windscreen frame in Designo Alcantara, so this doesn't have Designo Alcantara, this has plastic. And they did Designo wood. I'm not so much of a fan of the Designo wood, but it was definitely a thing in the 2000s with Mercedes SL 500s. You saw a lot of that, but really it's an older gentleman's choice, I think. So yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Price wise, as I said, they probably didn't sell many because the E46 M3 just blooming battered it with sales, so a much more popular car. I think the E46 M3 is probably a bit crisper the way it drives, the handling's a bit more tuned, and the response, the general response of the car is quick, it's fast and nimble. This is heavier obviously, but I still think this is decent. At the time, as I said, this was £60,000, this car, with the options, the blue roof, the two-tone leather, all that kind of thing. Bearing in mind it's a facelift as well, so the facelift was more money. The E46 M3 would have been around about 40,000, then with options. Convertible, if you spec a convertible M3, similar to this, so navy hood, metallic paint and an unusual colour leather interior, you're up at £46,000 back in 2002, 2003, 2004. So 46,000, 60,000 for this. Porsche 911 996 Carrera, I believe, was around about £70,000. So it was a bloody expensive car, really. £70,000, £60,000. You're talking the price of a two-bedroom house in some towns back in 2003, 2004. So yeah, not a cheap car, but an absolute bargain today. I think they're an absolute bargain. There are two on eBay at the moment. Depends obviously when you see this. If you see it fairly close to the time I've released this, there are two on eBay, very good cars, round about £7,500 grand. I also know of two cars for £5,000. One needs some work and the other one it could do with some paint, but I do know where those cars are. If anyone's interested, just let me know in the comments. But do you know, the sun's dropping now, and I think the light on this is really good. I think the silver, so it's classic silver for Mercedes, but yeah, I just think it's looking really nice in this light. Anyway, I think I've said enough. I don't think I've said everything in my notes, but I've certainly said enough. I will do another buying guide and I'll do a drive at some point. But you're getting a lot of car for the money. Bear in mind as well that you are repairing, when you go and repair this car, you are repairing a £50,000 to £60,000 car. I heard that recently, you know. This is why, well, Sam at SBR will say this: people moan about the cost of repairing these cars, but actually you're not repairing a sub 10 grand car, you're repairing a 50 to 60,000 pound car. That's the way Mercedes look at it. That's the cost of the parts back when they were new. And that's what you're buying into. So yeah, cheap car to buy, or not cheap, but you know, relative. It's a lot of car for the money, but you are going to have to maintain this car. 25 to the gallon, if you're lucky, 25 to 30 on a run. Put your foot down and it drops. You know, you're probably looking 10, 15 mpg, maybe even less if you're really hooning it. But it is a quick car and it's a lot of fun. If you just want one for weekends, then you'll accept that. You look at Sierra Cosworths and things, and I'm pretty sure they're, especially a lot of the tuned ones, you're probably looking at 20 to 25 mpg on a run anyway. You boot a Sierra Cosworth turbo, it's drinking fuel, so you're down less than 20 mpg easy, so you're on par with that. You can't pick a Sapphire Cosworth up for this money, but it's arguable. But you know, the build quality on something like this, it was a Mercedes, it was 60 grand. You are paying a lot for that, and you're getting a bloody good car for that money. You know, German build quality, German build engineering. It's decent, it really is. Not cheap when it goes wrong, but what is, you know, what is these days. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching, I appreciate that. If you could like it and you could subscribe, any comments appreciated. Yeah, and I'll bring some more cars to the channel. Winter's coming, so it won't be so easy, but I do have a few friends with cars like this that, you know, they're still taxed, they're still insured, they haven't been tucked away for the winter, and yeah, they can be featured. So again, if you know me and you want something featured, please let me know. I'd love to feature your car and go from there. But yeah, that's it. All right, thanks ever so much. Cheers for now.